Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a Q&A answering all of your questions that you've had. I asked you guys on Instagram, if you don't follow me, it's sustainably_vegan. This morning if you had any questions for me, and I got flooded with questions, so I'm going to answer as many as I can of them today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any more questions, always feel free to put them in the comment section below. And yeah, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Let's get into the video. So I'm just going to be looking at my phone for the questions just to make sure that I have them. And this is from Silka, the plant-based yoga teacher. Hello. She said, what is the hardest product for you to find plastic free, or which one do you wish was more available without plastic? Well, for me this is actually pretty easy, and it's definitely tofu. I do make it myself sometimes and you know, whatever, but I really love fresh tofu that's made, and it's just obviously impossible to find unpackaged, so I either just don't have it, or I make it myself, or I go to a restaurant and I have tofu there. But it's quite labor intensive and I'm not a good cook so it's quite hard to get it right, even though it's really not that difficult. If you do want a recipe, the recipe that I do use is Mary's Test Kitchen, so go and check out her YouTube channel. I'll put the link down below as well if you're interested in how to make tofu. But yeah, definitely that one. The next one is, how do you motivate yourself when you just don't feel like going to the gym? Well, to be honest, I only go to the gym when I want to, because if I make myself go when I'm not particularly feeling it, then I just don't have a productive workout and I don't particularly enjoy it. And also the main reason why I go to the gym, yes, is for functional fitness and to make sure I'm getting fitter and stronger and whatever, but it is also a lot for like feeling really good about myself. And if I'm not in the right mental state to go to the gym, then I just feel like it's going to be unproductive. There are very few times when I've decided, actually, do you know what, it's going to be much more productive for me to go to the gym now for later so that I feel better afterwards. But you know, I don't feel like you should pressurize yourself if you don't want to go to the gym, and if your goals are really that stringent, maybe they're a bit too, I don't know. But yeah, I'm motivated. Actually, to be fair, when I do want to go to the gym and I need to feel motivated, I literally just watch like some CrossFit on YouTube, or I watch Team Richie on YouTube, or I watch like the CrossFit games. Like today and yesterday I've been watching all of the CrossFit games that's happening this week, which is really exciting. And yeah, I guess that. I don't like to look at like fitness models or anything like that. I just like to look at the athletes doing CrossFit and seeing how strong and fit they are, and that definitely motivates me to get back to the gym if I've had even a bit of time off or whatever. But as I said, if I'm not feeling it, I won't go, because the next day I'll probably be feeling it so much more because I've missed a day type thing. The next one is, where are you going for vacation? Well, my best friend is getting married in Italy this summer, so me and my school friends are going to go to Italy a week earlier to make the most of having to fly to Italy, obviously, because I'm not going to not go to my friend's wedding, and just to make it kind of a bit more worthwhile, we're going for as long as possible, so that's where I'm going. Do you know any alternatives or low waste alternatives to flossing? Well, lots of zero waste people use things like silk, but obviously I'm vegan, so I wouldn't buy it first hand. But if you want to buy a second-hand silk shirt, obviously make sure you wash it, but I don't see any problem with like sort of tearing it apart and using that. Or places like, oh, what's it called? I can see it in my head. They do a vegan low waste, or they call it a zero waste floss that comes in a little glass tube with a metal lid. But yeah, they're the only one I know. Or do the second-hand silk shirt thing, or yeah, those are the only options that I found that have worked. How do you talk about sustainability to your friends, family without being judgmental? Well, I had to learn this the hard way. When I first went vegan, I was incredibly angry and aggressive and bullying or bullyish, and just kind of very judgmental, and had no respect for the people that I was talking to, or the fact that I hadn't always been vegan. And I learned that the hard way by having blazing arguments with my family, and I decided that that was a terrible approach, and I have never done it since. I feel like leading by example is the best way that I have found to effect really positive change in my friends and family. And basically all of my friends are vegetarian now. A lot of them eat quite a lot of vegan food. Lots of them have, I don't know, they've started using keep cups and they've bought their partners keep cups and stuff like that, and they have their own water bottles, and a lot of things is kind of like my friend who would always buy plastic water bottles. Eventually when it got to her birthday, I just bought her like a really nice reusable water bottle, so she had no excuse and no reason to not use it. And again, with one of my other friends, I bought her a reusable coffee cup so for her birthday, so that she would use that as well. And yeah, I just think that if you lead by example and you're really just caring and kind, and when they're curious, you answer them in a just, you know, a nice, simple, calm way, and just give them the information that they want, then you're gonna get a much better response. I can't be judgmental because I used to eat meat, I used to eat eggs, I used to eat dairy, I used to waste a hell of a lot of stuff. I used to buy new makeup and clothes like every single week. I was one of the most wasteful people and one of the most meat-eating people, which is probably why once I got into this, I've gone so far the other way. So I am in no position to judge anybody, and unless you were born vegan then, or born, you know, low waste, I don't think that anyone has a right to be judgmental. I think you have to be kind, and I think you have to be caring if you want to affect real change. But that's just my approach, you know. But I believe that that's the best approach, and that's the approach I will always take, and I will never bully anyone into doing something or make them feel bad because they come from a different background, or, you know, their relationship to food will be very different to mine, especially if they come from a very different cultural background where meat is a very like integral part of not just meal but like family time. And I think that we need to be careful about the way that we approach those things. So yeah, don't be judgmental, because even though at the beginning when you feel really passionate about something, it can be really hard not to be judgmental. But I think the most important thing is to just be calm and don't say anything until you're kind of called upon. That's my approach. You might not agree with it, but I found that that's been the most effective in effecting change within my friendship and family group, and actually online as well. So just saying. The next one is, what is your zodiac sign? Well, I'm a Virgo because I'm born on September the 5th, so it's my birthday soon. What are your thoughts on second-hand non-vegan products like wool, leather, silk? Is it ethical if it's second-hand? I'm really glad that someone brought this up actually, because a lot of people ask me this in person, and I never really get a chance to kind of discuss it online. And I have no problem with second-hand stuff, because you're not directly funding the place or the industry that is creating the demand for it. So by buying it secondhand, you're not creating a demand for that product, so no more lives are kind of taken, especially in the leather industry. It also does depend on where you buy it from. Obviously, I wouldn't buy it from a charity shop that tests on animals, because that goes against my vegan ethics. But I believe that the most sustainable thing is to use secondhand natural products like silk or wool. Like, I would have no problem wearing a secondhand woolen jumper that I bought from a small local, you know, charity shop, because I'd be funding a charity shop, helping them do good, and also not buying something new and creating a demand for more waste to happen in the fashion industry. And also, if that wool has already been used to create a jumper and it's now secondhand, I don't see a problem with that. I personally wouldn't wear leather anymore. I wouldn't wear leather shoes, leather bags, or anything like that. But that's just because I don't feel comfortable wearing leather, even though, because I don't know, like there's just something about wearing, like, I know a lot of people won't like me for saying this, but if you think about what leather actually is, it is skin, and that just makes me feel a bit gross. And also, I don't want to promote it, so if I feel like if I'm wearing a leather bag, then I'm promoting leather products. It just depends on you, I think. I don't see a problem in wearing secondhand things, and I will always promote secondhand over firsthand, because yes, I think it's great that vegan companies are creating alternatives, but the problem is a lot of them are made from plastic. But if you look at new wonderful technology that's coming out, talking about pineapple leather. Like, that is a wonderful example of using a natural product to make something vegan alternative rather than using plastic products. However, if it is recycled plastic, then it is a minefield. This is a really difficult topic, and which is obviously why I'm glad that people brought it up, and because I'm still sitting in a weird place trying to understand how I feel about it. The reason why I think that I'm much more lenient over things like wool and silk when it comes to secondhand is because you can't immediately tell what it's made from. So people aren't thinking that you're promoting a woolen product or you're promoting a silk product type thing, whereas leather is very obvious. Even though secondhand leather stuff now, it's very convincing. But yeah, it's, as you can tell, for me especially, I'm finding it quite difficult to wrap my head around it. But personally, I wouldn't wear leather. I would wear secondhand wool and silk, but I don't think that it's bad for you to wear secondhand leather. It's your choice, because by buying secondhand leather, you're not contributing to their industry. And so yes, I do believe that it's a choice. If you're buying first-hand leather, then no, I don't believe it's a personal choice, because you are directly contributing to the death of an animal for your kind of own gain. But again, these are just my opinions, and this is how I live my life, and this is what I do. So you don't have to at all follow me. I'm just answering the question as honestly as possible. And yeah, that's all I have to say. There's quite a lot to say, but it's quite a good question. Okay, what inspired you to create the low impact movement and move away from other terms like vegan, zero waste, minimalist? Well, I definitely haven't moved away from like vegan or minimalist or anything like that. I just found that they were too limiting for me, and I've made a whole video about why I'm ditching the term zero waste, which was quite, I didn't realise, I guess, quite controversial at the time, and I got a lot of shit for that. But I don't really understand why, because it's not as though I've given up any of my low waste or zero waste ideals. I've just created a new term for myself that encompasses so much more than that. I don't believe that veganism or even just plant-based eating or reductionism, is that a thing? Reducitarianism or flexitarian, whatever. I don't believe that that was really talked about enough in the zero waste movement. I don't believe that non-physical waste was talked about enough in the zero waste movement. I don't believe that, I don't know, all of these things. But also zero waste is actually an industrial term. So it's really just suited to companies, because it's about designing a product with the end result in mind at the beginning, so that it becomes a cyclical nature, or the product becomes cyclical in nature. So say, for example, I don't know, what could we say? Okay, so there's a company called Gomi Design, and they are taking waste plastics, flexi plastics, and they are creating a sustainable portable speaker out of it. And they thought about, in the beginning, what could happen to their end product, because at the end of its life, because it's made up of simply just flexi plastics, that can be melted down and reused forever. Basically, it can be recycled because it's not mixed materials. So they've thought quite carefully about that at the very beginning of their design process, so that at the end of its life, it can therefore have a new life and making it something new. And that's thinking about and designing your product with waste in mind, because waste is just a poor design, essentially. So when I started to kind of think about this more, I started to realize that actually zero waste is a term that's better suited to industry, and it's better suited to companies, because a company can be zero waste because of what I've just said. And yes, I believe that you can, I guess, design your life in a way that has zero waste in mind, but for me it wasn't enough of a term. It was too narrow. It was, I stretched the definition of zero waste too much to try and encompass all of these things that actually it didn't really encompass. And so I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to move to something else because that's right for me. I'd never intended to insult anyone or make anyone think that zero waste was not right for them. It's just, people take my actions quite personally, and that makes it quite hard to be honest online, and I try to be as authentic and honest as possible, but sometimes I don't know, it just works against me. So but you know what, it was right for me to make that video, and it was right for me to say how I really felt about the term, not about the people in the movement and not about the movement itself, but about the term and what it had kind of forced people into thinking. But yeah, if you want to watch that video, feel free to go and check it out. But just for me, I feel like I'm winning all the time with low impact. I feel like every day I can feel positive about the changes I've made, and instead of looking at my mistakes and being like, oh, like I failed, this is like miserable, blah blah blah, instead I look at it as like a learning experience, and looking at it and saying, oh, how can I look at my mistakes to help other people to make sure that they learn from them so that they don't make the same mistakes. And also just, you know, showing that I'm human, and you know, we can't all be perfect, and yeah, we can't. Let's move on. Do you think, this is an interesting one, that you have saved money after converting to a lower impact lifestyle and that it has impacted your financial status? Personally, yes, because it meant that I could save an incredible amount of money so I could quit my job and go fully freelance now. And for those of you wondering what I do, I am a photographer and a videographer, and I do post-production editing for those things. And that's kind of like my favorite stuff and my main job, but I also do social media management for some ethical companies as well, which is really fun. But lowering my impact and choosing that lifestyle meant that I saved loads of money because I don't buy clothes anymore. If I do, it's very infrequently, very infrequently. Most likely to be secondhand, thrifted, vintage, etc., which saves a lot of money. And because I find it so hard to find clothes that are made from good natural materials but are also thrifted, it means that I again buy even less. I have everything I need. I'm kind of like, I made so many mistakes in the beginning when I moved to a low impact lifestyle however many years ago, and bought loads of like coffee cups and water bottles and mason jars, and I mean, I have everything that I could possibly need for this. And so even if there are new products coming out, like I don't need them, so I'm not going to buy them. Even if I want them because they look cool, I'm still not going to do it. So I don't need to buy any of these like additional things to help me be low waste or low impact when I'm out and about. What else? I choose experiences now over stuff. As I said earlier in this video, like I used to be a massive shopaholic, but now I go to the gym and I work on my CrossFit because I absolutely love it, and it gives me way more satisfaction than going shopping for a whole afternoon. I also make so much of my food at home now, and I'm doing a no spend challenge. So I'm on, where are we? In August now. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. I'm like 7 months in to this journey, and I have obviously spent money on things that I've had to spend money on, and going freelance I've had to put a lot of money, or not a lot of money, but invest in some stuff to make that work so I can have my business at home. All of this kind of stuff. I travel back and forth to my parents' house in Sussex now quite a lot because I like to film there, and obviously I like to hang out with my parents. But I do get the train because obviously that's lower carbon emissions than driving, but again, transport costs. So it all depends on your lifestyle, and it depends on what you're willing to give up. I also don't buy new makeup ever. I buy new makeup every probably like 5-6 months because I don't wear it during the week. I only wear a little bit when I go out. I'm only really wearing mascara, eyeliner, and some eyebrow stuff today. So that's like 3 products. And yeah, it makes a huge difference. So it depends on what you give up. I will say though that living in London, food isn't that cheap, but it also depends on, again, on where you buy stuff from. Lidl are doing like wonky fruit and veg boxes for £1.50 now, which is crazy cheap. But when I buy bulk stuff, yes, it's not the cheapest in London. I don't know, I don't have a good sense. This is because I don't spend any money. I don't need to spend money. The only things I spend money on are experiences now, and obviously when I'm going to this wedding in Italy, so I've had to buy flights and I've had to buy trains within Italy and I've had to buy accommodation, but because I don't spend money on anything else, it hasn't been that tough. So overall, yes, I think that I save a lot of money. And I don't know, maybe I'll work out my like monthly outgoings and then do a kind of like low impact budget style video. How much do I really spend on food? How much do I really spend on this, on that, blah, blah, blah. Or make it part of like my no spend challenge. Let me know if that's something that you'll be interested in, and I'll do it for you. This video is really long. I should have told you guys to get a cup of tea ages ago. Oh, well, that's actually the last question. Do you struggle with maintaining the ideals that are represented in the low impact movement? Do you ever feel unmotivated that your efforts to reduce waste aren't enough? Do I struggle with maintaining the ideals? Well, because I've lived them for so long now, no, I don't. But if you're starting out, like when I started out, yeah, I definitely did find it quite difficult. But I mean, you don't have to worry about that. The only times you have to worry about that is if you like go out and you say to everyone, I'm vegan, I'm zero waste, I'm minimalist, I'm this, I'm that. And then when you don't meet those expectations that you've set for yourself, then that's going to be difficult. But if you just take one step at a time, especially calling yourself low impact, like what are people going to say to that? Or if you call yourself plant-based and you eat cheese once a week, like people can't say to you that you're not plant-based, if you know what I mean. Also, it's none of anyone else's business what your personal journey is. It's completely up to you. And for me, it's slightly harder, obviously, because I put myself online and I've come up with this low impact movement and all this kind of stuff. But for me, I'm the kind of person that if I don't do this, if I don't put myself online, if I don't hold myself accountable to these things, then I just don't do them because I find it hard. It's easier for me because I have 80,000 people holding me to account of the things that I say. So yeah. What else? I think I'm gonna leave it there because it's gonna be a long video. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any more questions, obviously put them down below. I'd like to start a discussion about anything. And one last thing, one comment I would like to address is somebody said that my Instagram has become very self-centered and it's just pictures of me. And what I would like to respond to that is to say, I spend almost every minute of every day thinking about how I can be a better activist, how I can be a better teacher to you guys, how I can really impact and change this world in the most beneficial way possible. And I dedicate my YouTube to that, and I dedicate my life to that, and you know, my career to helping sustainable companies get their name out there, etc. So I feel like because my Instagram is just that, it's mine, and it's an expression of the things that I love, like photography, my curls, my newfound love for my hair, you know, sustainability, connecting with community, sharing poetry, Lightroom, etc. Because my Instagram is an expression of the things that I love, I am not going to change that because you think that I'm being self-centered. I spend the majority of my life being as selfless as I possibly can. So please refrain from judging me for some of the things that I do that are for myself, because that's not fair. And I do work really hard to do everything for other people, and I'm not going to apologize. Photography, above all else, is what I know that I'm good at and can affect change through it. and yeah, rant over. It is hard when you get negative comments on YouTube and Instagram, and I really don't get them that often, but it's when people attack me for taking a bit of time for myself that I just find it quite hard to take. And yeah, especially when I don't think that I'm a selfish person, but at the end of the day, that's kind of part of the package when you're online, isn't it? Anyway, that's my rant over. That's my Q&A. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys very, very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day. Like if you liked it. See ya. Bye.